Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I have Gabriel Varga, 6-time world champion, and we're gonna ask him high risk attacks. So are they worth learning? Are you something crazy like spinning, jumping, hook kick?
Ooh,
Something
really crazy.
something high risk. Is that worth taking your time, taking time out of your fight camp, whatever, to learn for fighting?
Yeah, so I will say that obviously they do work occasionally.
Okay.
We do see people land spectacular techniques, and it's just a matter of how much time do you want to put in and how much is it drawing away from the basics, because basics win fights. So for myself, things like a spinning back fist, not super high risk, but it's fancier. I'll put time into that because I know that there's a good likelihood that I'm going to land a shot. There's other ones that I've trained in the past, like a cartwheel kick or a rolling thunder, where I used to train those and I'd actually take time and then I removed them because I went, you know what? The chance of me even throwing them in fights is so low. So I would say basically what we're looking at is, do you ever throw it in sparring and are you ever successful in sparring?
Okay. So what would you deem basics versus high risk? What are you going to say are basics? Because you said basic win fights. So are we going to say, of course, I'm assuming like a jab, a cross, a hook, uppercut, shovel hook, haymaker, or overhands, front kick, round kick, side kick.
Yeah, we can even start getting into spinning side kicks, a couple things like that. Like some people are very dangerous with their spinning side kicks, so it doesn't necessarily need to be the basics or the beginner things that you would learn in the first month, but just the things that generally you're going to see a lot of knockouts with. You turn on, you watch UFC. What are 9 out of 10 of the knockouts coming from?
Got it.
Those are sort of the things that work, and anything else, which is like the highlight reel stuff, where you get people jumping off the cage and throwing things, anything really fancy, those are going to be the ones where I go, oh, it's less likely to land. The opportunity is less likely to present itself. So I'll deem that a little bit fancier and maybe not needing to put a lot of energy into it.
So you were talking during the seminar we just finished, you said you were thinking about having a space in your training at home, like I guess you're going to add the ramp for the karate combat.
Yes.
So you would have the ability to maybe spring off of that. But would that be something where you would deem kind of more of the high risk or maybe the fancier move? Because now you're going to build something to train it.
Yes. So for myself, the mindset behind building it and learning to execute won't actually be for myself. This is a different conversation almost, but it won't be for myself utilizing it. It'll be me throwing it to almost learn how other people might throw it.
So defend it.
The role reversal, yeah. So if I know how to do it and I know how to execute, then when I see somebody else getting ready to do it, I'll be going, oh, I know this. I've thrown it before so many times. I know how to be on the opposite side because I'll be thinking about the opposite side when I practice as well. So as soon as somebody's foot hits the edge of the pit, I'll be going, here are the options. But I don't have the ability to do that yet, so I don't know what the options are.
Got it. How often do you watch your fight footage?
Ooh, good question.
I just seen an interview. They did an interview and they were talking about Tom Brady, who just retired, I guess, for like the 5th time or whatever. But they said he would watch 40 hours of footage each week.
Of his own.
Of other the teams he's playing and of his own.
Yes.
And you figure 40 hours is an average work week for people. So he's putting in an average work week of watching videos on top of working out, on top of his training in the camps. So do you watch your footage or other of the footage of your people you're going to be going up against? And if so, how much to figure out what techniques might I try advanced wise to use against them?
Okay, so first watching my own. Once I compete, I obviously go back and I watch the fight a lot.
Okay.
Like 5 or 6 times, look at the mistakes I made. What did I do well? And once I've sort of got sick of it, which usually happens pretty fast because I'm more focused on the things I do wrong.
Right.
I'm kind of like, hey,
most of us do that.
Yeah. So I don't generally go back and watch old fights very often of myself. It's just more where I finish the fight, I'll watch it. In terms of watching my opponent, if I have an opponent coming up, I will watch that to death.
Okay.
Basically what I'm trying to do is get so comfortable with his style, with his face, with his body type, that when I get in the ring, I'm going to be as least intimidated as possible and I'm going to really understand. So very often, especially if I have somebody who has a basic style, I feel within 2 or 3 weeks, I already know everything.
Okay.
I've assessed everything. There's nothing that I'm really taking out of watching it more, but I do. Just because I'm building that comfort level. And maybe there's a small thing that's going to jump out, which I didn't notice before. But I'll basically, every week leading up, probably watch, I don't know, maybe an hour a week.
Okay.
on average. And watching other people fight, so not myself, not my opponent, but just watching other fights, I think is one of the best ways to develop your skills outside of training. Just because you're going to see techniques,
Okay.
you're going to try those techniques, you're going to see other styles, it's going to open your mind up to the potential of trying other ways of moving. And if you're watching the fights correctly, not just kind of phasing out, I think you can almost play one of the two fighters.
Got it.
So sometimes I'll, be watching a kickboxing match and like, oh, the red corner is not doing really well. I'm going to be the blue corner and I'm going to imagine what I should do. The red corner throws a jab and be like, slip. And I'm just always thinking and trying to engage my brain in that way. So I think it's very important.
So watching a video, you're talking about like maybe watching fight footage versus maybe watching a breakdown of a technique, aka like YouTube, like you break down your own fights. I actually just found a few of those recently. I was like, oh, he just had this fight. Now he's literally talking you through the fight, like my mindset or whatever. So when you're talking about watching fights, you're not watching a technique. You're literally watching fight footage, aka from Karate Combat or whatever.
Yeah, I watch Karate Combat, watch ONE FC, watch UFC, any of the fight promotions. I really like watching boxing.
Okay.
My hands are pretty good, and I think a lot of that is because I watched a lot of boxing as I was growing up and was like, oh, I'm going to try and move like these guys. And then the hands just develop because you watch those guys. So whatever you watch, you're going to end up replicating to a certain extent.
Right.
So yeah, putting all that in, I very rarely do not watch the fighters who are super high risk. I don't enjoy them as much. So the guys who are the high risk fighters who are like, oh, I'm going to throw the fancy techniques. I'm like, I don't regard that as quite as impressive as the people who have really good basics and they'll grind you down with the good basics.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why I don't throw a lot of high risk techniques, because I don't watch a lot of fighters who have high risk techniques. So yeah, I think.
What would you deem as a high risk technique?
I think that anything that has a small probability of landing. So how do I go about landing a tornado kick without you backing up? If it's a hard thing, like if I put a paddle up for you, I'm like, tornado kick, but I'm going to move this around, try and hit it.
Yeah.
You're going to have trouble. If I say throw across,
to be easier.
you're going to be like, oh, it's easy. So I just sort of look at how difficult it is to pull off.
Okay.
You throw 10 of them, how many are going to land? If you're talking like 0 or 1 maybe, then I go, that's kind of high risk.
Yeah, definitely.
And when it's high risk, it basically means not necessarily that you're putting yourself at risk of anything, but you're exerting energy for nothing. Right? If I throw a big fancy kick or I do a rolling thunder and I fall on the ground, I got to get back up.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be more tired. So those to me are the high risk ones. If they pay off, they pay off big, but they usually don't.
Use your sparring sessions to, of course, drill the high risk a little bit, like to test it out. Like you're literally saying, like, okay, I'm going to throw. I saw this move and I'm like, okay, can I throw the jab to the spinning back fist?
Yes.
And so I'm gonna see if this even works. And are you figuring out AK in your brain? Like we tell our students, and I think about it more for jiu-jitsu, but now you got me thinking about it even for kickboxing. So we tell them like the speed we should train at is when you're scoring about 75% of the time. Mm-hmm. So if you're scoring every single time, then you're not going fast enough. If you're scoring under that, 55 or 50% or 25%, you're going too fast. You need to slow down. So I'm assuming you're thinking kind of in the same realm. Like you said, if I try it 10 times, I get 1. Well, that's 10%. So
not good enough.
That's not even close to, I don't even know if that's even worth high risk. Like that might just be like a one hit. Literally, that's a one hit wonder that you see like the guy ran off the cage. Wow. It's like, all right, did you train that or did that just kind of happen in the moment and you got lucky?
I think that was Pettis, right? Anthony Pettis.
Maybe.
Yeah, and I think he did actually train it.
Okay.
Most of the times that those guys are doing the training. But if I saw somebody do a technique like that, I was like, oh, I want to try that. And I was sparring in the cage. I would practice it first. Always practice it first. I wouldn't go in and be like, oh, I'm sparring and I'm just going to throw this high risk technique and hope it lands. Because I don't know a lot of the times, do I have the ability to keep my partner safe?
Yeah.
Right? I'm not trying to knock my sparring partners out and be like, yeah, look at I landed this. I'm trying to just see, can I land it very light?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if I don't practice beforehand. So I'll run through in my head what might need to be done. Then I'll try it in a safe space by myself. Then maybe I'll try it with a pad holder. And then I'll run through it again, make some adjustments. Then I'll try it in sparring. If I have a certain level of success with it, I'll keep it. I'll be like, okay, this is going in the arsenal. If I have no success with it, I'll disregard it. not from my mind, but from the arsenal, because I always want to remember that somebody else might throw that at me.
Correct. I have the same policy. And then I was just thinking, I think I forgot it. What about defenses? Do you deem anything as like a high risk defense? Like I've never thought about, you did it earlier, we did the shin check, but we literally put the foot down to do the spinning back fist. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. You know, that's an interesting setup. So I was like, do you deem like a high risk defense? And again, do you train that as well? Like again, high risk offense, but there could be high risk defense.
There definitely would be higher risk defenses. I think anything where you start disconnecting your hands from your head is a little bit more high risk for most people. Some people not. You get somebody like Conor McGregor, where he's out here and he's fading and twitching back. It's not high risk for him because he understands the millimeters. And you see him and it's like,
correct.
Whoa. But for most people, doing a fade back and trying to counter, that's decently high risk. Trying to utilize a lot of fancy head movement as somebody's swinging at you, it's decently high risk unless you're a super high skill level. Okay. And you've tried this over and over and you know that I can slip 20 punches and nobody's going to hit me. Anything like that is going to be high risk. Fading back on the head kick, if you mess up, you're going to get knocked out. Whereas in here, when I'm in my little ball, it's much harder for you to land a clean shot. I might get clipped with 50% of power of a shot because it bounces off. Right. But the high risk defense, I definitely have tried it. I've played with them all, and I just went, they're too high risk for me. Not worth it. I don't like it. I don't want to get KO'd. That's a big goal of mine in my career. I've never been knocked out. Okay. I never want to get knocked out. And playing around with those things, I feel like it's putting me more towards the risk of getting concussed. Cool. So I just don't bother with it. Awesome. I think that's all I got. Cool. Cool. Yeah. Well, thank you for that, sir. Again, if you know, mess that all up. Thank you guys for watching. Go ahead, hit that like button if you like stuff you see on our channel. Also, if you want to see more of Gabriel Varga on our channel. And then do me a favor, smash that subscribe button. Small thing for you, big thing for us here. And last but not least, hit that bell icon so you know when videos are coming out from all of us here at Martial Arts Limited. You guys are awesome. Stay safe. Keep your hands up. This is JD and Gabriel, and we're out.